If you're following the Lindsay Clancy trial, chances are you may have suddenly started hearing the name Latarsha Sanders, and there may be a very specific reason for that. Sanders was convicted in Plymouth County, Massachusetts, the same county where Clancy is currently being tried, of murdering her two young sons after raising a criminal responsibility defense. But just a few days ago, on August 6th, the Massachusetts Supreme Judicial Court vacated those convictions and ordered a new trial after finding that the jury was prevented from hearing important psychiatric evidence that should have been considered. And the same judge that presided over the Sanders trial is currently presiding over Lindsay Clancy's, Judge Sullivan. So let's talk about what happened in the Sanders case, why the Massachusetts Supreme Court ultimately overturned those verdicts, and why Latarsha Sanders is getting a new trial. Latarsha Sanders was a 43-year-old mother of 5 living in Brockton, Massachusetts. At the time, her 15-year-old daughter and her 2 youngest sons lived with her. She also had 2 older children that didn't live in the home. In February of 2018, police discovered Sanders' 2 youngest sons, 8-year-old Edson, who was known by his family as Marlon, and 5-year-old Lasan, dead inside the family's apartment. Family members later described increasingly bizarre behavior leading up to the killings. Sanders became intensely preoccupied with ideas involving the Illuminati, voodoo, poisoning, and people trying to harm her family. Her daughter also described Sanders behaving very differently from normal shortly before police arrived. During interviews with investigators, Sanders initially blamed other people for their deaths, before eventually making statements about stabbing the children in connection with what she described as a ritual involving voodoo, the Illuminati, bad people, and eternal life. Once this got to trial, the central dispute was not who caused the boy's death, because Sanders had eventually admitted that she stabbed her sons. The question for the jury was whether she was criminally responsible when she did it. The Commonwealth's position was that Sanders understood what she had done and knew that it was wrong, and for that, prosecutors pointed to her conduct after the killings. They presented evidence that she cleaned portions of the scene, moved or concealed evidence, initially blamed other people, failed to immediately seek medical help for her children, and changed her account of the events during questioning. They also emphasized that Sanders had no documented psychiatric treatment history before the killings, and an emergency room physician who evaluated her that day documented that she did not appear psychotic during that particular examination. The Commonwealth used those facts to argue that Sanders' actions demonstrated an awareness of wrongdoing. And there was another part of the Commonwealth's argument that would eventually catch the attention of the Supreme Judicial Court. Police footage taken after the killings showed Law & Order SVU playing on a television inside the apartment. During closing arguments, the prosecutor suggested Sanders may have watched episodes involving mothers killing children and voodoo, and then used those storylines to construct her